Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido and welcome to our first ever annual Juniper Award where we go over the top 6 games from the Season 2 of the PokeType League.
3, 2, 1, go!
Just a small bit of admin, these games are in chronological order so there is no exact winner. These are just 6 games that stood out to us that took place before Victory Road and were in the regulation season. I will try to avoid too many spoilers in the matches whilst also breaking them down, but we will see how that goes. And before we get started, let us know your top game in the comments below.
Number 1.
Our first game was from round 2 as it was the Draconids hosting the Pinchers. This match was incredible. I remember my reaction in seeing it unfold and the reaction from people after they saw it. That actually got me more pumped for what this league is all about. As soon as I saw it, I felt confident that we would be seeing it on this list. The Pinchers started off well enough until the Draconids decided they wanted to show that they can be a serious side, and the Pinchers looked doomed to be squashed under the incredible power of those dragons. Until all of a sudden, they started to work their way back into the game. As I try my best to remain unbiased in every game, by the end of this one I was wanting the Pinchers to win.
Number 2.
Our next game, all the way in round 14, again has the Pinchers appearing as they were facing the Galaxy this time, who were looking like they would be making it into Victory Road, if not locking up an Elite Four spot as well. Whereas the Pinchers had found themselves really struggling by this point and looking dire for their chance at a debut Victory Road. But they came here to play on this occasion, with their type advantage perhaps making them full of confidence, and it looked like they might be able to maintain control to take the win. But a team like the Galaxy, who wanted to get to the top of the leaderboard, and with the likes of Metagross on their side, you could never count the Galaxy out. And that final stretch in this game, my real-time reaction was incredibly up and down and all over the place with how much was going on.
Number 3.
The 20-minute timer in competitive seems like an interesting topic for some, and something I am actually grateful that we could turn into a positive for the PokeType League. Something that happens very rarely is a draw game, and this regulation season, something that would only happen one time is an overtime game. It had been over 12 months since we had hit that time limit. And yes, this one does spoil a bit of the game, but the initial setup between these two sides almost seemed like they were trying to drag out the other side and determine who they would be taking into overtime with them. And as soon as we got there, the action almost seemed to hit an entirely new level with all the remaining Pokemon refreshed.
Number 4.
I'm starting to think that the Explorers and the Draconids are going to have a good rivalry for seasons going forward, because in round 16, the Explorers seem to be proving themselves to not be such glass cannons this season, and the Draconids had more than truly been living up to the hype that was expected of them in the previous season. And not only that, but we found ourselves in a game where the two teams were contesting for the top of the leaderboard. It almost seemed like a question of how the Explorers could handle a stamina Archaludon. Fortunately for the Explorers, the Draconids would not be bringing their ace to the game, but it had become very apparent during the Draconids uprising they didn't need their Steel Dragon, as there was a great deal more depth this season.
Number 5.
And coming off their awesome match with the Draconids, the Explorers headed to Lava Ridge in round 17 to face off with the Flare. Now, we have talked about a lot of games that were super close, long, well-contested games, but something I absolutely love to see in the PokeType League is a high-action match, and this match was played to perfection. The last time that the Flare faced off with the Explorers had not yet won a game in the PokeType League, and the Flare, well, at that point in time, they had not lost a game, and that game went to the wire, ending with a huge play, and that match would definitely make a Season 1 top 6 list. This match, the second time these two sides faced off, it was not anything like the last game. The Flare seemed to be floundering, starting a bit of a losing streak at this point, falling further from the Elite Four. The Explorers, on the other hand, they were in an Elite Four position. And then this match starts, and one team played this battle brilliantly, and the other team could do so little they didn't really get to battle at all.
Number 6.
And our final game is the Sylphs versus the Flare from the final round of the season. I was incredibly excited for this match at the start of the season. Realizing it was in the last round, I thought these two sides could be facing off for the minor championship. They weren't. Instead, both of them were still yet to clinch a spot in Victory Road at all. And for the Sylphs, they were the only side sitting outside the leaders 8 still in contention. If the Sylphs lost, they would need to keep it close and hope for the other sides to fall. If the Flare lost, they would be at risk of slipping down the board and out of contention. The stakes were high, and then the game started, and there were fire ghosts everywhere. We got a face-off between the two Typhlosions to determine supremacy, and both teams were holding their own. But not just that, we had 3 Pokemon remaining for one team as we entered the last minute, and 2 on the other. We were looking at another potential overtime, only for some of the greatest fallout to happen that added to this game, making it an instant classic. But with that said, Nidorinos, let us know what games you think we missed off this list, or which ones you agree with. But more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I'll see you when you see me.